I'm giving out one bet for every single fight this weekend at UFC Vegas 108. Another successful weekend. Last weekend, there was only 12 fights. We hit 7 bets, but when you're calling out plays like Martin Buday plus 245 right off the bat, it gives yourself a little cushion. Ended up being a great night. I appreciate all you guys who tuned into the last show. It was a lot of fun to do. So I'm not going to waste too much time, but I never want to accept your donations. If you guys have a good night tailing my plays, all you got to do is go to Better DFS in the App Store and download Better Picks and use code Nolan. It'll get you a 100% deposit match bonus, and you can try to win up to 100 times your money. 8 legs, picking over-unders is going to pay you out 100 times your money, $10 to $1,000, $20 to $2,000, and so on. That's how you can repay me, or if you want to support me in the channel, that's the way to do it. So I'm not going to waste any more time. We'll shout out some ads and some sponsors throughout the show, but I got a new rule on the One Bet Show, and that is we're taking plus money on every single first fight of every single card. We started it 2 weeks ago. We hit Carly Judici, that fight to end inside the distance at plus 175. Last week was Martin Buday at plus 245, which was a monster that we hit. People called me crazy for that all week long, but I had the feeling I didn't think Buchecha was going to be UFC level right off the bat. He's only got 6 pro fights. So, first fight we get Vieira, Rodriguez, Ketlin, Souza. Look, man, Vieira Rodriguez is very aggressive, and when she can get her takedowns going into her top control, she's very good. She's good with her ground and pound. She's made some dumb mistakes. I mean, she had Ariane Cornolle beat to a pulp, ends up headbutting her not once, but twice. The ref gave her a warning once, and then, the fight was over via DQ. She lost it. But, when she gets her wrestling going, she's a good fighter. On the feet, she's improving, hits somewhat hard. The problem I got here is that Ketlin Souza can be so dangerous at times. I mean, we've seen her with step-in elbows. She's got big power in the hands as well, knocking out girls cold. And if she doesn't knock you out, she's going to jump on the neck. She's got the submission game to go along with it. But, she gets taken down very easily. We saw, was it Marnik Mann had success a little bit late in the fight with the takedowns? When I see girls like Marnik Mann being able to secure some top position, I don't like it that much. So, in this spot, I think if Pierre is smart, she just goes to the wrestling. I think she's got enough gas to do it for a couple of rounds. And I think that's kind of how this fight's going to play out. I'd love to take a shot on Ketlin Souza on the money line because it's plus 185, and I actually wrote that down earlier in the week as a possibility for this fight, doing some plus money. But I got to stick to my guns. We're not going to take big plus money in this first one. It's going to be Vieira Rodriguez by decision plus 105. This line's moving. It was plus 115 2 days ago. Not going to be surprised if it closes at chalk. But as it sits right now, I think she gets the wrestling going. That's what it's going to be. Give me Vieira Rodriguez by decision. Maybe you take that for bigger money and you sprinkle on Ketlin Souza by decision just to get some, big plus money and even things out there. But the official play, Vieira by decision. All right, next fight up. Rafael Estevam. I got the name. I completely butchered this graphic here. Rafael Estevam. That is Felipe Bunes, not John Yannis. That is Felipe. Look, Estevam, everybody knows his game, right? He's going to go to the wrestling, and he's very good at it. He's solid with his control. I mean, coming in to the UFC and beating Charles Johnson in your debut, just less than 2 years ago, that's pretty impressive considering what Charles Johnson has done and the caliber opponents he's fighting right now. He secured 3 takedowns. Basically, that's all he needed in the first 2 rounds was 1, and he got a lot of time. The next fight, Jesus Aguilar, got 11 takedowns on him, so he proved that he can rack them up. My big problem with Estevam and why I don't think he's going to make a run for the title or he's going to be a special fighter in the UFC is that this guy does not land many strikes anytime he's fighting. He gets tired in that middle of the late second, third round. I mean, against Charles Johnson, he landed 18 significant strikes. He's not landing ground and pound. The guy is basically position, search for a submission or 2, and that's it. Jesus Aguilar, 11 significant strikes over the course of 15 minutes with those 11 takedowns. That's 1 significant strike per takedown. I don't like seeing that whatsoever. The other side of this, though, Felipe Bunes, man, he gets hit so much that, on the feet, he's obviously a liability. Maybe he doesn't have to worry about it here. He's got a decent submission game, and I think that's what he's going to have to work at this whole entire fight. I don't think Estevam is going to give him many minutes on the feet whatsoever to get his striking going. I think if Felipe Bunes wins this fight, he's got to do it by finding a guillotine or an armbar, which he is very good at. And for Estevam, with all the top control and time, Felipe Bunes is going to start to get tired as well. Both these guys are going to be gassed out. And I think one of them can actually find the finish. Whoever gasses out first, probably going to get finished, whether it's by sub, TKO, whatever. So, instead of really, taking a chance, laying this chalk on Estevam and not really being confident enough and wanting to take a dog shot here, I'm going to take this fight to end by finish at plus 105. Like I said, I think both guys are live for the submission. I think Bunes is live for a step-in knee or a big right hook or something at TKO. But ultimately, one of these guys is going to get tired faster than the other. Maybe they're both tired. And if they are, I think somebody on the mat could make a mistake to the point of getting submitted or TKO'd. So that's exactly why I'm taking this fight to end inside the distance, plus 105. All right, boys. Austin Bashi is back, coming off of his loss to Christian Rodriguez, which he was like minus 250 in that spot. I remember it because it was the first card of the year and one of my favorite plays of the year as well to kick it off. I had C-Rod at plus 190, and I just knew that, C-Rod, he could keep the fight standing for the majority of the time, and when he gets taken down, he's going to pop back up. And I thought he had better striking and obviously more experience, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, C-Rod even had a couple of submission attempts in that spot, but again, for Austin Bashi, that's a great learning experience. You came into the UFC, and they didn't just hand you some can. They gave you C-Rod, a guy who is proven to be, a very tough out in this division and who's fought very high levels of competition. I think that is going to take Austin Bashi further. I think taking a loss at this stage in his career is exactly what he needed. He's going to come into this fight against a guy in Yannis who's making his debut. I think he's going to be highly, highly motivated to get this win. I think he's going to stick to a game plan, but I also think he's going to be aggressive and really try to get that loss back and make the fans and the whole entire MMA community forget about that loss by doing something spectacular here. And I think he's fully capable of it, if I'm being honest. So, John Yannis, 9-3. I just don't really know what he's going to have that. If he keeps it on the feet and wants to outstrike Bashi, you're going to have to deal with the wrestling at some point. I don't really think he can stuff the takedowns, have enough cardio to really be able to find these big shots. And Austin Bashi's shown to have a chin, okay? He's not going to go out there and get flatlined. This guy, Yannis, has been submitted before. He's lost a couple of decisions. I don't think he has phenomenal cardio whatsoever. It's not bad, but I don't think it's like a C-Rod where he's just going to take over in this fight. I think he's going to have to deal with the takedowns. I think Bashi will be successful with the takedowns. And when the fight gets there, I just think Bashi is going to be so much better that the Yannis is going to be in trouble, which is why I am going to take Austin Bashi by finish for this play in this fight. I think he bounces back and gets this dub. All right, next fight up. We're getting Nick Klein versus Andre Pulayev. Oh, man. I actually don't think, Nick Klein gets a bad rap because on the Contender Series, maybe he didn't look, phenomenal, and he comes into the UFC and he has to fight Mansour Abdul Malik. And, Malik's a guy with a lot of hype behind him, and rightfully so. Yeah, he didn't look great against Cody Brundage, and, he was a little gun shy. But outside of that, he's looked good in the UFC. His only bad moment was against Nick Klein when Nick Klein hit him with that elbow in the first round, nearly knocked him out or TKO'd him, had him on shaky legs. And, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing earlier. I'll go back to this in a second. Had him on shaky legs, just couldn't quite get him out of there, and then he gets finished in the second round. Abdul Malik hits super hard. But what I meant to say is Nick Klein did look good on this Contender Series when he went out there, showed that he's got good grappling and can find submissions, and he did it in round one there. His opponent, Pulayev, I don't think he's a phenomenal defensive grappler or anything. I don't think he's going to be able to stuff the takedowns in this spot relentlessly, which I think he's going to have to do because Nick Klein comes out hot. He's going to test your grappling. We saw Liam Anderson be able to take Pulayev down in the Contender Series. On the feet, the fight wasn't really close. But the next fight for Pulayev in the UFC, he goes against Christian Leroy Duncan for his debut. He gets outstruck 73-18. Christian Leroy Duncan is a guy that's shown to be kind of a boring fighter when he wins fights. I mean, RoboCop went out there and took him down 4 times and just beat his ass on the feet. He beat Claudio Ribeiro, not in the UFC. Dennis Tululin, not a good fighter. He lost to Armin Petrosian because, again, he's just so lackadaisical on the feet that, you know, he wasn't landing any volume or anything significant. So, I mean, if he comes in here, if Pulayev comes in here and fights like he did against Duncan, you know, I think Nick Klein's just going to be open to standing there, low volume fights until he gets his entries on the takedown, and he's going to make it a lot closer than people might think here. I don't really like the odds, though, for this, for such an unknown fight. Like, I don't want to lay chalk on Pulayev, but I also don't really like plus 130 range. If this was a plus 190, plus 200 for Nick Klein, I'd be all over it. But what I do think could happen is Nick Klein could get caught on the feet at some point. I think Pulayev's got decent cardio. If Nick Klein goes for the grappling, has success, or doesn't, I think he could get tired, and he's going to be susceptible to eating big shots. If he does get the takedowns, I think he's going to be live for submissions. Like I said, this guy's long, he's strong, and he goes for the subs. So this is another fight I like to end inside the distance, whether it's Nick Klein by KO or submission or Pulayev by KO. Whatever happens, you know, you kind of cover both guys here and their upside. So I'm going to take this fight to end by finish at minus 165. And it's one I think could hit, man. I really do. I'm interested to see what both of these fighters bring to the table after taking their debut losses. Somebody's got to look good here. Whoever does it, I think, is getting the other one out of there. All right, next fight up. Rodolfo Vieira versus Tresean Gore. I'm a little iffy on this fight because Vieira, for one, he's getting up there in age. He's getting a little bit older. He's taking some damage in the UFC. But for two, he's also got a massive experience advantage over Tresean Gore. Tresean Gore's, you know, starting to rack up some UFC fights, but he came into the UFC extremely early into his MMA career. I mean, right now as it sits, Tresean Gore is 5-3. Vieira's, you know, only 10-3 for being a bit older, but you know, he's got so much jiu-jitsu experience and he's so good with his jiu-jitsu. Some people would say maybe the best jiu-jitsu in the division, you know, as far as, you know, just pure jiu-jitsu. What I worry about him in this fight, though, is him, one, getting tired, two, not getting the wrestling going, because Tresean Gore's got a wrestling background, okay? This guy's strong, and he could stuff a few takedowns here, and then, you know, if he is, Tresean Gore's going to be able to let his hands go a little more. He's a pressure fighter. Maybe that's going to allow him to ward off some of the takedown attempts from Rodolfo. If Rodolfo's fighting backwards here, I'm starting to like Tresean Gore's chances, okay? Tresean Gore, for losing the last fight against Marco Tulio, he was in his face the whole time, making Tulio strike off the back foot. Fortunately for Tulio, he's a phenomenal kickboxer, has that experience, and was able to do that. But if you watch, man, Gore, I don't know if they scored it a knockdown, but he stumbled Tulio really bad in that first round. He also ate a ton of big shots, showing that he can eat a little bit of damage. And, you know, against Rodolfo, you're going from a phenomenal striker in Tulio to a guy that's not really a striker first, doesn't really have a ton of knockouts or a ton of, you know, blinding power or anything like that. What you got to worry about is the takedowns. If you stuff the takedowns, you eliminate the jiu-jitsu. So, you know, it makes it a little more even in this fight. But once the fight does hit the mat, if it does, I think Vieira can sub this guy. Even though Gore's got the good, you know, wrestling base, I don't think his jiu-jitsu is that good, and I think Vieira's is. So I got a little interesting play for this one. I actually like Vieira by sub, which is like plus 150 range. I could tell you exactly what I got it at, actually. So, I mean, you take that for a little bit bigger money, but if not, I think you sprinkle on the Gore KO, which is plus 600. And if this fight does get caught on the feet, I do think Gore is going to have chances to knock this guy out. Gore does hit hard. His striking's getting better, and he's a pressure fighter. He can kind of break you down. And, you know, if he's not taking much damage, I think Tresean Gore's gas tank is going to last a little bit longer in this spot. The way that Gore is going to gas out is if he's getting taken down over and over, or if he's just getting taken down and smothered, because Vieira is a guy who is good at covering his opponent's mouths, and he knows those little jiu-jitsu tricks to really frustrate your opponents. Knee on belly, you know, getting you in the body triangle and just zapping your gas tank. He's good at that kind of stuff. So, Vieira by submission, plus 140. I think you take that for your bigger piece here, and then you sprinkle Tresean Gore KO at plus 600, and you kind of middle that. Whichever one hit, you're going to make some money. That's what we're going to go with in this fight because, again, I'm not into backing either of these guys. Both guys have a little bit to show in this fight. Vieira, let's see if he is looking a step slower and he can take the damage still. For Gore, let's see how he looks, trying to or being the better striker in this matchup. We'll see how it goes, but those are the two I'm leaning here. All right, next fight up, Nathan Fletcher, Rinya Nakamura. Nakamura is coming off the fight where he absolutely laid an egg against Muin Gafurov, but Muin Gafurov is a tough out, and I think he was disrespected heavily in that last fight, whereas Nakamura might have been a little bit overhyped. I think Nakamura, didn't really go to the wrestling against Muin Gafurov, and that's what killed him. Nakamura wins fights because he can wrestle guys up. The guy is a Olympic-level wrestler out of Japan, and, guys haven't been able to keep up with him. Nathan Fletcher, he was on the Ultimate Fighter and lost a fight, won a fight. He's not a guy that I think is ever going to make a run for the title or even a run to the top 15. I mean, he went in there against Zigomantis Ramaska, got the submission. Zigomantis ended up just not being what people thought he was going to be. His next fight, he loses to Keelan Logren. Okay, Keelan got outstruck in the fight, but he took him down 6 times and got some top control. Ultimately won a split decision. It was a bit controversial. I thought he won. I mean, I had Keelan Logren in that spot. I think I'm going to fade him again here with Rinya, but it's just a matter of figuring out how Rinya is going to win the fight. Is he going to get a TKO, a submission, or a decision? Rinya Nakamura, if you're thinking Keelan Logren is getting 6 takedowns on this guy, I mean, if Rinya just commits to the wrestling, what's he going to do? I don't think he's going to get submitted. I think he's too strong, and he's going to get out of those positions. On the feet, Rinya's got power, okay? And he's got speed, and I think he's going to have that advantage on the feet as well. Either way, or anywhere this fight goes, I just think Rinya is going to be a one step ahead. And honestly, the KO is probably the most likely outcome if there is a finish. But I also think there's going to be a lot more grappling than striking in this fight, especially Rinya knowing he needs a win. Got to get back in the win column after the Muin Gafurov fight. So my official play for this one's going to be Rinya by sub or decision at -175. I think Fletcher could hang tough, survive. We saw guys do it against Rinya Nakamura. Carlos Vieira was able to survive. Fernie Garcia survived. So, it's not crazy to think that Rinya is just going to win a decision here. That's going to be my official play. Rinya by submission or decision, -175. Just not big on Nathan Fletcher, and I think he's going to be fighting an uphill battle in this one. All right. Everybody's favorite prospect on the card, and I fully agree. Kevin Vallejos taking on Danny Silva. Danny Silva is a guy that had a little bit of hype behind him because he gets in these shootouts with guys, and he throws tons of volume. And, notoriously, he's had a pretty decent chin, but he hasn't really fought guys with the power of a Kevin Vallejos. You look at his UFC and Contender Series run, Angel Pacheco, that guy has been a punching bag for everybody he's fought. Danny Silva lands 200 significant strikes. Split decision against Josh Kulabau, where Josh Kulabau outstruck Danny Silva 87-45, but Danny Silva had 4 takedowns. The judges gave it to Silva. Split decision against Lucas Almeida, okay? Outstruck Almeida 82-74. Danny Silva got a takedown. Definitely lost that third round and was getting hit quite a bit. Kevin Vallejos, his only loss, Jean Silva, okay? And that was Jean Silva's toughest fight that he's had in 8 or 9 years. And Jean Silva, landed 87 strikes. Kevin Vallejos landed 71 on him. We even saw Jean Silva go for the wrestling one time. Kevin Vallejos came back on the Contender Series, knocks out Cam Teague in round 1. Comes into the UFC, knocks out Sung Woo Choi round 1. This guy's boxing is very good. He's accurate. He's a pressure-style fighter, and he's going to rip the body and get your hands to drop. And he's going to come upstairs every single time with the left or right hook. He's dangerous. And, Danny Silva, I'm going to show you this number for Silva. He lands a lot of volume, 7.36 significant strikes per minute, but the guy absorbs 8 significant strikes per minute. And we're talking about guys that he's fighting like Lucas Almeida, Angel Pacheco landed nearly 200, Josh Kulabau. If those guys are able to touch the chin, Kevin Vallejos is going to be as well. And I don't know how much he can take from Vallejos. This is a different level of power that he's fighting. That reason, I'm taking Kevin Vallejos by KO at -110. Look, Kevin Vallejos got his UFC debut out of the way, and he looked phenomenal. Passed it with flying colors against Sung Woo Choi, a guy who's fought way better competition than Danny Silva has. I think he's going to knock him out here too. Make a statement that he's here in the division, going to try to make a run. Give me Kevin Vallejos by KO or TKO in this spot. All right. The only two gatekeeping veterans on the card. Easy dos Santos. Elezu dos Santos. Zaleski dos Santos versus Neil Magny. I got mixed feelings about this fight too, and I'll tell you why. Dos Santos is getting up there in age, for one. He's notoriously been a guy that has been a tough out for everybody. He's got good striking. He's got power. He can get the knockout, but he's a black belt, a high-level black belt on the ground. And if you want to go to the grappling with him, he's going to be looking for subs. He's very slick with that. And, the guy is just all around a really good mixed martial artist. He's a knockout artist first, though. He's got a lot of them on his record. As of late, the guy has lost a few fights, but it's Randy Brown by decision. Randy Brown didn't put him away. He lost to Chidi and Jaquani. Had Chidi hurt at one point in the fight, but Chidi just landed a knee and, finished the fight shortly after that. Went to a draw with Renat Fakhretdinov, beat Abubakar Nurmagomedov, beat Benoit Saint-Denis just by outlasting him with the cardio and just beating him badly late. Split decision loss, Muslim Salikov. I mean, you look at the level of competition he's fought. And he's beating a lot of these guys too. So, I think he's got a little bit left in the tank. I don't think Neil Magny is completely done. I think Neil Magny also will have a little bit left in the tank. He's never going to go out there and just lay down. You got to knock him out clean. Yes, the last two guys have finished him via TKO in the first round, but it's Carlos Prates and it's Michael Morales, two of the hottest prospects in the division, two way younger guys. But before that, he beat Mike Malott. Mike Malott gassed out. Magny took advantage, okay? I think in this spot, Dos Santos is going to land some shots that really do test Magny's chin. Even though he's an older fighter and maybe doesn't have the power of a Prates or Morales, he is still powerful and dangerous, and he's crafty with the striking, and he will not stop throwing until the final bell. Magny probably will be in trouble at some points in this fight. Now, Dos Santos is going to have the ability to jump on the neck. We've seen Magny submitted a handful of times. He could go for the finish with the hands. We've seen Magny finish by KO a few times. But, when Dos Santos is going to the grappling here and at range, I don't think his chin is 100% what it used to be either. And Magny's long, can land a step-in knee, or can just, put the pressure on you and just completely gas you out, hitting you to the body and finding some kind of attritional late finish himself. And you're getting the finish in this fight at plus money. And that's what I'm going to go with. I don't care who does it. I'm going to lean Zaleski. Dos Santos probably has a better chance to finish him here. But you're getting plus 120 on this fight to end by finish. That's exactly what we're going to take for this one. That's all I got to say. I don't want to pick a side. I would lean Magny as dog or pass if you're taking one, but let's just take somebody to get a finish here. All right, next fight up, Nora Cornolle versus Karol Rosa. I'm going to do a fun one for this one because I just don't like it whatsoever. I do think it could be dog or pass with Nora. She's cashed as an underdog. She's got a good track record as the underdog, and she's been profitable. And Karol Rosa has dropped the ball in fights before. But Karol Rosa is also fighting high-level competition compared to Nora. So Nora also gets a little bit tired. And if you look at their ages, Karol Rosa is actually, around 30 years old, where Nora came into the UFC a little bit later. She's 35. I don't know if in women's MMA if that makes a whole bunch of difference, but it's something to think about. On the feet, Karol Rosa is probably going to throw more volume. She's landed tons of significant strikes in past fights. I think she could go to the wrestling a little bit, get some trips, get some takedowns. We've seen Cornolle taken down before. She's good with sweeps. She's good at reversing position and getting back to her feet against certain girls. I don't know if she's going to be able to do that against Karol Rosa. But while it's on the feet, Nora always has the power in her back pocket. She changes momentum of fights. She lands and wins those big moments in fights that steal rounds. We've seen her win close split decisions where a lot of people thought her opponent won, but because she had those big moments, the judges gave it to her. She's always in these very close fights if she's not finishing it. I don't think she's going to finish Karol Rosa. Rosa's too experienced. She's taken damage and been able to survive before. And, ultimately, if she goes to the grappling a little bit, she's going to, buy herself some time of not being at range with Cornolle and eating big shots. I'm going to break this down super simple. We're going to take a long shot here. I'm going to take Cornolle versus Rosa, ends by split decision. I'm waiting for this prop to come out still. on books, but generally for men's MMA, it's going to be around plus 800 to plus 1,000, plus 1,500 for some. With a decent sized favorite here, I think you're going to get good odds. I'm going to guess around plus 500. That's what I'm going to be taking when this comes out. It's not out quite yet, but I'm going to go ahead and put it out for this play. Karol Rosa, nor Cornolle, fight ends by split decision. Let's hope we get big odds. That's what the play is going to be. All right. Estevam Ribovics, Elvis Brenner, probably going to be the fight of the night. You can already tell. It's going to be Vallejos and Silva or Ribovics and Elvis Brenner. Elvis Brenner is a guy who came into the UFC, and although he doesn't win all the time, he's always in fun fights, and he never lays down. Like, you got to put this guy out and just make it, put him out of his misery if you're going to finish the guy in fights. We saw him come in against, what's his name? No, it wasn't Guram. Oh, Zubaira Tukhugov, and he gets a split decision win. Then he beats Guram Kudailadze after basically losing the first 2 rounds, and Kudailadze just kind of gassed out, and he got the TKO. Beats Kane and Khrushchevsky with a nasty overhand left in round number 1 very early and just puts the lights out. But then he's getting a little bit better competition. Miktabik Oralbai, beats him just by taking him down, ragdolling him. Joel Alvarez beats him with a nasty knee and eventually finishes him by ground and pound. And now he's getting Ribovics, a guy who's notoriously been able to take damage and keep going, a guy who throws a ton of volume, and a guy maybe doesn't have the best offensive grappling, but scrambling, getting back to his feet, he's very good at, and he's got good cardio. And I think those are the things you have to beat a guy like Elvis Brenner. Now, could Brenner go out there and flatline him? I mean, he's done it to guys before. I think he could. But Brenner's starting to take a lot of damage, especially in the Oralbai fight. And against Joel Alvarez, he took a ton. And now Estevam Ribovics, a guy who flatlined Terrence McKinney, a guy who hurt Daniel Zellhuber multiple times in that fight where the ref could have stopped it. Ribovics has some power and had Nasrat Haqparast hurt a few times, even though he lost that fight. A lot of people thought that he won. This is a dangerous fighter, a younger fighter, and a guy who is still making a name for himself in the UFC, and he's becoming a fan favorite. I think he's coming off of some, bad taste in his mouth, losing that split decision against Nasrat, and I don't think he's going to want that to happen again. I think he's going to go after Elvis Brenner here, and, I think he could definitely hang with him wherever this fight goes, but especially on the feet where I think it's going to be the majority of the time. So I actually think this is a good parlay piece. I just think he's a better fighter all around than Elvis, and I think he's going to be able to dish out a lot more damage to Elvis than Elvis is going to be able to land on him. So I'm going to take Estevam Ribovics minus 220. That is going to be a parlay piece for this fight. And I got these odds completely wrong. On the screen, it says minus 260. It's kind of small, I believe. Hold on. Let me see what I got this at. For some reason, I had minus 220 in my head. Let me look at the book real quick because I don't want to give anything inaccurate from what I take it at. Let's see. Okay, so I actually got Kevin Vallejos and Ribovics parlayed, and Ribovics was at minus 245. I don't know where I got minus 220 from. So minus 245. Right now he's sitting at minus 260. But for a parlay piece, I think it's good. Like I said, I think he's going to beat him wherever this fight goes. If it gets taken down, he'll get back up while it's on the feet. He'll land the damage. He'll land the volume. And we're going to get out of there with a dub. All right, next fight up, Mateusz Rebecki, Chris Duncan, your co-main event. And this is a banger too. I shouldn't have spoke too soon. This could be fight of the night as well. Rebecki has been in those types of fights before. Chris Duncan makes everything exciting, especially through the first couple of fights. Chris Duncan, though, I'll start with him. I think he's coming along a little bit with his striking. He's very powerful. He's not super fast. He's not super, high volume or anything. But if you leave your chin up and you let him land on you, I mean, the guy is very, very powerful. He's very big for the division. He's hard to push around at times. And, if he gets in positions where you're in the clinch or you're shooting double legs, this guy will find your neck. And he's got a great guillotine. Balaji found out. Jordan Vucinic found out. I mean, he was landing good shots on Vucinic too. So the guy, like I said, he's constantly the underdog. He's constantly cashing as the underdog and making people tons of money. The only problem here is that against a guy like Rebecki lands a lot of significant strikes through the first 2 rounds in his fights, and he's very powerful, and he's good with the leg kicks. And I think the speed difference is going to be massive in the first 2 rounds, to where, even if Duncan does land a big shot, I think he's going to eat 5 more by the time he's landing another one. And it's not like Rebecki is a pitter-patter type fighter. This guy is throwing everything into every single shot. It might be why he slows down some, or why he lost to Diego Ferreira, because he gassed out trying to finish the fight. But I think those are things you learn from, and we've kind of seen it. Miktabek Orolbai, that fight was absolutely insane, and he was dogging that out until the very, very last bell. I mean, Mateusz Rebecki is a guy that's going to fight for your money. Chris Duncan is a guy that's also going to fight for your money. And I think both guys are going to have the opportunity to finish the other. I mean, Rebecki, like I said, the power is insane, but he can also gas out and get TKO'd or even submitted. Diego Ferreira did it, and Diego's like 40 years old. We saw him submit Roosevelt Roberts in round 1. I can't really see this fight going to a decision. I mean, the odds are saying the same thing, obviously. Chris Duncan, let's see, his last one, round 2 finish. Before that, round 1 finish, Blazioki. Before that, got submitted by Manuel Torres, round 1, okay? Yes, Rebecki went to a decision with Orolbai, but Orolbai is an absolute savage who's willing to take a beating and won't stop either. So, I do think this thing ends early more often than not. I don't know if it's round 1. I don't know if it's round 2. My official play for this fight, under 2.5. You might have to lay a little chalk, but again, both guys are dangerous. Both guys can get knockouts or submissions. Somebody might gas too, and the other one will finish. So as long as it happens under 2.5 rounds, I'm good. I'm getting out of there. That's going to be the official play. All right, main event time. Tatsuro Taira, Hyunsun Park. This thing's kind of just thrown together after Amir Albazi pulled out of the fight. Tatsuro Taira still staying on the card. I actually think Taira could be getting a lot better from that loss to Brandon Royval. I mean, you look at that fight in itself, split decision. Royval had the striking numbers in his advantage. Tatsuro Taira was able to land 6 takedowns on Royval. Even when Taira looked completely gassed and hurt on the feet, he was able to get to that back. He was able to secure a body triangle, rack up control time, go for submissions. Like, the kid is very, very slick with the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling, and he's landed knockouts in the UFC before. Carlos Hernandez, Alex Perez, that was a good one. I mean, the guy is a pretty well-rounded fighter. And against Hyunsun Park, I mean, the level of competition difference is big. I mean, I would think it's a little too soon for Park to be getting this step up in competition, for one, from Carlos Hernandez. But you got to remember, this is also his first main event on a UFC card. So be it, it's at the Apex. It's still a main event. Everybody's talking about you. They're zoomed in and focused on you all week. And he really wasn't asking for this and didn't expect this until like a week ago, less than a week ago. He was supposed to fight on the following card. They move him up. He was supposed to fight Steve Erceg before. Tatsuro Taira is a completely different style than a Steve Erceg. He's going to have to change things up a bit and be ready for it. Whereas Tatsuro Taira is more of a guy that what he's going to do. He's going to do it. He's going to go for it, the same game plan regardless of who he's fighting. Whereas Park's got to change some things up and be ready for that grappling and that grappling defense a lot more here. So I do think Tatsuro Taira probably wins the fight. We've seen Taira hurt before though, and Park does have some dangerous hands and also has somewhat of a submission game as well. Actually, he's pulled off 3 subs in his last 4 wins. If he can get Taira a little bit tired, land a big shot, he's definitely going to be live for a finish. But I do think Taira is also going to have his fair shots at a knockout, at a submission, something like that. We'll see how nervous Park is on the night of the fight. Whereas you got Tatsuro Taira, who was just in there against the number 1 contender, Brandon Royval, in a big, big spot, and didn't seem like he was too shook by the bright lights. In fact, he fought hard all 25 minutes and ended up being a split decision loss to the number 1 contender. So says a lot about Taira. A loss for him is probably something he's going to get better from. Although, I think Taira wins the fight. He's a massive favorite. I'm not going to touch that. I'm actually going to take this fight to end under 4.5 rounds at -150. I explained why. I think both guys could get some kind of finish. Taira probably more liable to get a finish here than Park. but that's exactly what I am going to go with for the main event in this spot, and hopefully we cash out the tickets here. Those are the picks for this weekend. This Apex card feels a little bit like a Frankenstein card. They're just throwing shit together at this point, but I do think there's some good spots. I think we're going to make some money once again. Made money last week. We've done this since UFC 314, and all of the cards in between, we've only not hit more bets than we won 2 times. I mean, we've been on absolute fire. Nobody more consistent. You can go through YouTube and watch breakdowns and predictions, and we're going to pick a winner, but I don't really see many people picking 1 bet per fight and standing behind it, win or lose, no matter what. Look, it's not easy to come on here and give your opinions on fights and give you bets that you think are going to hit like week in, week out. It's not an easy thing to do. So I appreciate you guys showing the support. The comments are always good. It's a lot of love in the comments always, and I appreciate that a ton. Every time we have a losing week, we give away tons of ghost products. We do other types of giveaways. And we got some more stuff planned in the future for if we have some losing cards. Once again, appreciate all of you. Boys, I cannot wait for the next few weeks. I'm planning on being at UFC Chicago a little bit last minute, waiting on some of the boys to let me know if we're going to do it or not. It's sounding like we probably will. So if you guys are at UFC Chicago, make sure you come up and say what's up to me. Hit me up in the DMs. Let's take a picture. I'll buy you a drink. You guys have shown me a ton of love. I'd love to reciprocate that and show it back. Appreciate all of you. Hit that like button. Drop a comment. I don't care what it is. Hate, love, as long as you're commenting. That's all that matters to me. Make sure you subscribe and turn your post notifications on so you can be notified every single time we drop the One Bet Show. Appreciate all you once again. We're back at the Apex this week and next week, but we will see you next week on the One Bet Show.